Hey everyone, and welcome. Today, we're going to demystify a really powerful tool in the VMware universe, the VApp. Now, if you've ever had to manage an application that's made up of a bunch of different parts, you know how chaotic it can get. Well, we're about to show you the elegant solution that brings some serious order to that chaos. Let's dive in.
So, I want you to picture this. You're responsible for a modern application, but it's not just one program, right? It's a whole ecosystem. You've got a web server, an application server, a database, and each one is living in its own virtual machine. Just trying to keep them all in sync, especially when you have to start them up or shut them down, it's a constant battle. It's kind of like trying to conduct a digital orchestra where every instrument has its own sheet music.
Yep, that's it. It's exactly like herding digital cats. You've got to make absolutely sure that the database VM is up and running before the application server even thinks about starting. And that has to be running before the web server comes online. And then when you need to shut it all down, you guessed it, you have to do the whole dance in perfect reverse order. One little misstep, and the whole thing can just fall over. It's a manual juggling act, and frankly, it's exhausting.
All right, so here's our game plan for getting a handle on all this. First, we'll quickly revisit that juggling act. Then, we'll introduce the solution, which is pretty brilliant. We're going to break down exactly how VApps work their magic, look at some real-world examples, and finally, we'll cover the two main types you're likely to run into.
So, let's just be crystal clear on the core problem we're solving. Modern apps are these big, distributed systems, and all their parts have critical dependencies on each other. Trying to manage them as just a loose collection of separate machines isn't just clunky, it is a recipe for errors and a whole lot of operational headaches.
So, what if you could just take that entire collection of VMs, your database, your app server, your web frontend, and just group them? What if you could treat them not as individual pieces, but as one single cohesive thing? This is the exact question that led to a really clever solution.
And here it is, the VMware VApp. At its heart, a VApp is basically a container. But it's not a container for files or lines of code. It's a container for your entire virtual machines. The key phrase here, the one to remember, is managed as a single entity. That is where all the magic happens.
This is hands down the best way to think about it. You know how you use folders on your computer to keep related documents together? Well, a VApp does the exact same thing, but for the complex, interconnected parts of your application. It's a smart folder because it doesn't just hold your VMs, it actually understands how they relate to each other.
So how does this smart folder actually pull it off? How does it bring order to all that chaos? Let's break down its core features, because this is where you really start to see its power.
First off, unified management. This is huge. Instead of right-clicking on 3 different VMs one by one to start them up, you just click Power On the VApp itself, and boom, your entire application starts up. Need to shut it down for maintenance? One click. Need to make a perfect copy for a new testing environment? You clone the VApp, not 3 separate machines. It just simplifies everything.
And this right here is how we solve that whole herding cats problem. Inside the VApp settings, you can define the exact startup and shutdown order. You literally tell it, hey, start the database first and wait for it to be ready. Then, and only then, start the application server. You get the idea? It automates that whole delicate sequence, making sure your application comes online gracefully and correctly every single time.
And here's another huge benefit, portability. This is brilliant. Once your application is all nicely bundled up in a VApp, you can export the whole thing, the entire stack, as a single file. This makes it incredibly easy to move your application from, say, a development environment over to a production server, or even to a completely different data center.
Oh, and there's another cool thing VApps do. They also act like resource pools. So you can set a cap on the total amount of CPU and memory that the entire application is allowed to use. This is absolutely crucial for making sure that one power-hungry app doesn't steal resources and slow down other critical services running on the same hardware.
Okay, so this all sounds great in theory, right? But where is this stuff actually used? Let's take a look at some real-world situations where VApps are solving problems for IT pros every single day.
So you see VApps pop up in 3 main areas. First, software vendors absolutely love them. They can package their entire complex product into one VApp so customers can deploy it with just a couple of clicks. Simple. Second, IT operations teams use them to simplify all that day-to-day management we've been talking about. And third, they are fantastic for disaster recovery.
You can replicate an entire VApp to another site, knowing that if you ever have to fail over, the whole application will come back online in the right order, automatically.
Now, it is important to note that the term VAMP can mean slightly different things depending on where you run into it. The core concept is the same, but the implementation has a few key differences.
So on one side, you have the Sphere VApp. In your typical on-premise data center, this is basically that organizational smart folder we've been talking about. But on the other side, in a cloud environment that uses vCloud Director, the VApp kind of gets a promotion. It becomes a fundamental, self-contained service that bundles not just the VMs, but also all the networking rules and IP configurations, making it a truly portable all-in-one package.
But here's the thing to remember. Regardless of which flavor you're dealing with, the core idea, the why behind the VApp, is exactly the same. The goal is to stop thinking about individual virtual machines and start thinking about the application as a whole. It's all about taking a bunch of complexity and wrapping it up in a nice, elegant, simple package. And this brings us to a really fascinating question for the future, right? As the tech world keeps moving towards things like containers and microservices, does this core idea of the VApp, grouping components into a single manageable unit, actually become more critical than ever before? You could even argue that modern tools like Docker Compose or Kubernetes are just the next evolution of this very same concept. It's definitely something to think about.